This is actually what we're seeing. I'm not sure if the icons are really matching in.
Oh yeah, okay. We have
in the
different
same
teams.
way. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we've got the draft here. It's just showing for obviously our previous matchup, and I think it is Carmine Corp on the blue side and Solari on the red. I would just have to double check that with production.
Carmine Corp red, Solari
Carmine
blue.
Corp red. Ah, okay. So I think that makes a little bit more sense. I was going to say that Kalista Nautilus doesn't really feel like a lane that we'd see Reckless and Hantera piloting too often. The Zyra makes a bit more sense.
And to the flip side of that, Wukong for Jocko, like I mentioned, seems to fit the brief pretty much exactly. Got to see a Talia build up in the mid lane last game. Hopefully we get to see it happen here again. I also like the pairing of Kalista Talia. It may not seem like the most ingenious pairing necessarily, but it's very good to have them on the same team because Talia is a very good counter to Kalista. So if they're on the same team, you can't really counter it.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw last game that you can actually do a fairly decent job into the Azir. Obviously, Peng was able to accrue a pretty significant lead against Rangjin in that game, but come to sort of like the mid games, come sort of the team fights, the Weave as well was an absolutely massive tool, and we saw how that Talia was really able to recover from that early deficit and be a significant carry for the team.
Yeah, there's always that team fight aspect that Talia is never really going to fall off in. Yes, your damage maybe a little bit lower than necessary to perform a complete one-shot onto somebody, but it still exists as a threat to really pump out consistent damage.
Yeah. It looks pretty good. Well, we are going to be jumping into the game in just a moment's time. Solari versus K-Corp coming up. Welcome onto the Rift, everybody, for our third game of the day. Solari on the blue side, Carmine Corp on the red. Blue side team looking to make a late dash into playoffs. Carmine Corp want to stay strong in the spot that they currently hold, maybe a little bit of pressure onto the likes of Vitality B if they can grab some wins here today. Both these teams stacking fairly aggressively. Hantera looking for a grand entrance over the wall, secures a multi-man knockup, but there's nowhere to go. Flashes over the wall, but still falls down.
They just blind dash over the wall into 5 people, and there's no way of him knowing. Like, if that's a normal 5-point split, there's one person who stood where they used to be. Scarlet, for example, is stood in the correct spot. Right, and then what they're going to wait for is the cooldown of the Rakan to come back up. They can go for the engagement that second time round. They can probably burn the flash of Scarlet in the mid lane. They generate their own leads. But it all goes amiss middle court. It was perfectly read by Solari, who just sit, wait, and watch Hantera dash into them all and get taken out.
I really enjoyed you talking through Hantera's thought process there when they went for that grand entrance.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things that if you don't look at it too deeply, it's like, wow, he just entered. But there's clearly like some form of rationale to that.
Yeah,
it just got absolutely read like a book.
It's why level 1 scouting is so important, because I imagine that's K-Corp's coach going, look, Hantera, you can go over this wall, Solari. They don't tend to stack in this bush, and maybe you can catch someone out, but Solari, credit to them, with the adaptation, is going to secure them first blood, and it's on this Kalista of all champions.
They're the perfect champion to get that first blood on. It really helps them in any sort of bot lane skirmishes that they're going to be going for. An extra longsword going into the laning phase is pretty gorgeous if you do get an opportunity to look forward into those engagements. Also, with the Ignite Exhaust on the bot lane summoner spells, they do have a little bit more combat threat, certainly a lot better than the heal in the early stages. There's also a fun little fact that at least at level 1, when you're going for all-ins, a health potion at the start of a trade will do more than summon a heal.
Oh, I love that. It's really not too much at the level 1. It's like 70 or something HP. And obviously you get that little bit of movement speed as well. But if you're looking for a heal from heal, maybe you should have picked something different. It is Solari who have got the lion's share of pressure in this bot lane. And it is lion's share. It's not line. It's actually a lion.
Okay.
I googled this during our break, and it's actually because a lion tends to take like more of stuff. And so when you say someone gets the lion's share, they get maybe more than they are entitled to. Reckless and Hantera, no strangers to playing the weak side on this bot lane, and Solari looking to take full advantage, but responses started to come through from Carmine Corp. Reckless still level 1, flash away from Joku. Only the clone ends up getting knocked up, but all this time, waves are going into that bot lane tower and being denied from this Xayah.
Yeah, they don't care if they're not fighting actively here.
Oh, I think they're fighting actively, Rude Dude, and 113 is very low. The heal just enough to keep the jungler alive.
Are they just going to do this for the next 4 waves? How long can they keep this up? Like,
can do.
Reckless is still level 1 here, by the way. Azza's just dinged level 3. Keep zoning, keep zoning. There's an extra wave crashing. I don't care if you stick around. Like, I'm low-key down to just see Solari keep staying there.
You've got 2 plates. 2 plates at 4 minutes. 20 CS lead. Reckless is in a really bad time. Honestly, that play looked like something you'd see from the Korean teams of maybe like sort of 5 years ago, where they just go, we're better than you, we can deny you these resources and play out the game so much better.
That's not something that I've seen in a while, and it's probably not something that we'll see again for a long time. I don't quite know what to make of it. Reckless obviously now very far behind, Azza with a very nice advantage through CS, through experience, through a lot of different discrepancies here in the matchup. So in terms of where we can expect to see Solari look to play through their lanes, it is that bot lane that we praised coming into the matchup of Azza and Steelback, who were, you know, the core linchpins of the few wins that they've got. Up against Reckless and Hantera, who, like you say, are very familiar to playing that weak side. It's worth noting we didn't get too much time to touch on the draft as a whole. But Seiken on Azir, Hantera on Rakan, these are 2 of, if not the most played champions for each of the players thus far this split. They are certainly incredibly comfortable and incredibly well versed on them. So nice little comfort picks for Carmine Corp here. So they should be able to, at the very least, have that ease of execution going down in their favour.
Yeah, and speaking of comfort picks, Tryndamere for Cabochard, a champion who really isn't enjoying summer, but when you do play this top-focused carry style that Carmine Corp love to go towards, giving Cabochard something that he can just split push for endlessly, it's pretty decent as a strategy, to be honest.
And I think that's something that we've associated quite heavily with the lower tier table teams, is their inability to navigate late game situations successfully. I think that Tryndamere, possibly one of the best champions at punishing that as well. Because if you aren't decisive, if you don't make cohesive moves as a team, Tryndamere will take your base quite quickly and quite easily.
Yeah, he does that.
Simply put. That is all. End of point. Case in.
I mean, there was literally a 0 damage Tryndamere challenge a few years ago. Where the objective was to win a game on Tryndamere without dealing any damage to the opponent. And I can't imagine that Cabochard is going to be participating in that challenge this game, but food for thought nonetheless.
That'd be good. How much more difficult can we make the game for ourselves? Already up against a 4 and 10 team, that's not enough.
That's the last thing you want to hear. That's the last thing you want to hear from your top laner at this point.
Oh, yeah,
by the way, guys,
no
I'm not doing damage. Oh, Seiken trading flashes with Scarlet in the mid lane. That Emperor's Divide invested as well. Not quite able to find the setup for 113.
Great film, that, by the way. I don't know if you knew that you were referencing what. Anyway, trading places, of course, top 10.
I've not seen it, unfortunately.
Unlucky. We'll move on. Jocko was there though to support. It was nice to see that Scarlet, you know, has this little support from his jungler, and he may well look for an effort onto Seiken here, or he may well show his face, burn his smite in the jungle and or in the mid lane, and fully push the wave, give Scarlet what I imagine is going to be a free base, or time to go bot lane.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall is available. Reckless is level 4. No ultimate available for Azza or Steelback, and
do it anyway.
The defensive capabilities of 113 might not be enough. That's going to be the flash burn, but now this sets up for the dive onto the Rakan, onto the Viego. Fair bit of CC available, and it's Steelback getting knocked up, but the double shove comes through. Actually, 1 kill traded back. Support for support as it stands, as Scarlet gets executed, and Reckless gets taken out.
Ultimately, that's not bad for Solari. It is quite comical that they lose 2 people. One of them, of course, to a execute. The other kill goes to Hantera. overall speaking, that is very good indeed.
Look at the wave!
Yep, exactly. Just as I was about to say, you could feel the pain from middle court. He knows quite how many minions have gone down here, and this is once again shoving Reckless further and further behind the curve. The trade for all of this was a mid lane plate, something that Solari will be more than happy to concede up against Carmine Corp.
But now you need to take this Callista, you need to take this Nautilus and start doing other things around the map with it. Steelback has the highest kill participation of any support in the league by a whole 10%. He's up there on like 88 point something, everyone else is down there on like 78. So this is a guy that really likes to get on the map, get things done for Solari, and that's what you're starting to see here. This rotate, 8.5 minutes, going towards that Herald, as is coming here as well, and there's nothing that Carmine Corp can really get anywhere else on the map. Unless they can find a pick onto Scarlet here, who has been ulted. Seiken will slam him back into the waiting arms of 113. And now actually Carmine Corp might be looking for the fight. The Fate score has been used. Double knock up. Heartbreaker over the wall. And Hantera also following his jungler. No kills coming through from Solari, but now the Rakan is in a very, very sticky place. Joko are going over to him, and Hantera flashing away. There's no way that you get out of this one, surely.
He potentially gets executed, though. He might even be able to blast cone somewhere. Joko has got flash if he wants to go for it, and he gets out.
No!
He gets out.
Fair play, Hantera. Fair play, mate.
Take a bow, lad. That was...
Do you know what? It's not quite enough to redeem you for the level 1. Another play like that, maybe. Another play like that, maybe.
Or a big engage. Or just a peak Rakan engage. We'll allow one of those as well. Those are the only two forms of payment. Either another Houdini or just simply a beautiful engage. Relative though, the Herald did go down. It's worth mentioning that Joko ultimately did get the objective. They seeded a kill onto Scarlet for it. But maybe that gets repaid in its own right. We could well see Joko put that Herald down there and say, okay, you're the one that paid for it. You're the one that gets a little bit of cash injection back. Of course, what I expect to see them do is continue to put gold into Azza and Steelback, particularly Azza. If they can, make the most out of this Callista, getting gold, that would certainly be fairly ideal for them. Would like to see them put a little bit of pressure down onto this bot side. There's only one plate left. Try and take that turret, then transition Azza and Steelback up to that top lane. Make the most of all of those plates that are there as well. But that's fairly far thinking. Let's see if they can, execute on at least the start plays of that.
Yeah, so I think the next point of contention potentially going to be this Mountain Dragon. We have seen teams opt in for going 1-for-1 in terms of these early Drakes a fair bit, but given where 113 is walking, Joko looks like he's going to pick this one up relatively freely, and there's no defense for Reckless and Hantera on the bot side, so first tower of the game going in favor of Azza, and whilst the gold lead isn't massive for Solari just yet, it's going to be increasing dramatically very, very soon. 113 thinking about a dive on top.
Well, the good thing about Gangplank, I suppose, is that he can clear waves fairly quickly. He's got the Sheen, so just 2 barrels is going to do the hard work. Drake secured. They're denying all of this wave as well, making sure that every single creep possible gets denied to Reckless. But stepping this far forward, Kyo, you've still not got control over this side of the map. You do need to be careful. But he's absolutely fine. First brick falls in the bot lane. They've still got Herald. Remember, this is that point where I was saying, okay, you can take that Rift Herald or you can take that bot lane turret with just a little bit of priority. There's only one plate. Pushing an extra wave. Azza and Steelback are going to base. Kyo basing at the same time too. He's probably going to come to this bot side, send Azza and Steelback up to the top lane, put some more control out there. More plates, go to the Callista.
Yeah, you do need to deal with Cabashard at the moment because he has built a pretty reasonable CS lead up against Reckless. Are you right there, bro? Just sort of dancing around the range creep there, just making sure they're out of tower range. Yeah, just vibing. But Cabashard is not quite as online as Azza is, but doing relatively well on the Tryndamere, and that's not really a threat that you can leave on its own for too long, because all of a sudden, you've lost 3 towers in the side lane and everyone's upset.
Yeah, everyone is upset. That's a good way of putting it. No, nobody's too happy to see a Tryndamere freely split pushing. But what they're quite happy with, though, is currently just sort of the wave control that they've got. You can see Reckless keeping that wave in the bot lane, nice and close to his turret for the time being. Going to try, though, push it out, and I'd like to see somebody from Solari go try and catch that. Could be Scarlet, could be Kyo. But they've got the control set up. They've used 5 people to set up around this top side. And potentially Steelback are going to go for a hook.
Connecting onto Cabashard, but now the Nautilus a little bit cat out. Flash engage, but over the wall goes Steelback, able to pull himself away with the Spider Nautilus hook. It's not enough to keep him alive, and 113 can't quite consume his corpse to keep himself on the Rift. A 1-for-1 jungle down for K-Corp.
So instead of going for the bot lane play, they opt into a 5v4, which doesn't go their way really. They get a 1-for-1, and yes, it's kill support for jungler. But overall, this is still really good for Carmine Corp. They get a kill onto their jungler. They get a load of plates onto Reckless, who's, you know, been starved this entire game. So any little morsel of gold that he can get is going to be very, very grateful for. And right there, he got an absolute boatload of cash injected right on into him. Completed Mythic feels like it's probably going to be right around the corner. And with that in tow, we know that Reckless, if he gets items, will be a carry. And he's probably going to be able to get those items fairly soon, given that little play.
Yeah. The last minute or so has been much kinder to the Swedish AD carry, as Scarlet can clear these waves kind of just for free in the mid lane. Is a little bit down on Seiken, similar to what we saw the previous time we saw this matchup. Obviously, Peng able to get a lead there, but again, this Talia, it feels like against this Azir, it's not necessarily about the lane, it's what you're able to do outside of that lane.
And for the most part, I mean, it appears to be fairly rudimentary, really, for Azir and Steelback on their plays on this top side. It's all still focused on trying to take down this turret. Need to see if they can finish off the job. Nice to see that there is that support from the rest of the team. Jocko moving up here. Scarlet once again taking that time to roam up to this top side and potentially help out the team. No Weaver's Wall used.
Oh, hook lands from Steelback onto 113. In with the Cyclone, knocking up the Viego, bonking on the head, taking him out. As Hantero will quickness under the tower. Teleport is going to come through. Solari needs to make this play work quickly. Steelback maybe goes a little bit too forward onto Cabashard. Not bad, the Undying Rage will keep the Carbo Shard alive. But Solari, you still take the dub on the play.
Yep, they got 2 kills, and you know, like you say, it's Carmine Corp once again losing their jungler. Kill goes over to Carbo Shard this time, so gold in the right place here as Reckless is. This time he's not just taking the turret in the face of Keo. That is fairly disastrous, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that Reckless has the agency to step up like this, not great. For Solari, not what you like to see when you put Reckless so far down. But these little plays are all starting to just give that glimpse of hope for Carmine Corp here, that they have got a kill onto Cabo Shard. We've just seen Reckless take a bot lane turret. Yeah. Solari is still playing very much to their win condition, but Reckless is also getting fed. Cabo Shard also getting gold, and we're looking at the composition for KC. Those are some fairly big carries.
Rift Herald is going to be taken out by Joko there. Picking up the Eye of the Herald, but it's Carmine Corp who actually have the first rotate onto this mid lane. We're going to be looking for this tower, instead rotating towards this Dragon 2 already in the back pocket of Solari. You do not want to be giving up Soul Point this early.
No, 3, I think it's Ocean Soul here that we've got this time out, so they're not too keen on giving that one over. Long drawn-out team fights up against likes of Wukong, who can really make your life difficult to try and kill, with a Kalista as well dancing around. Not by any means the go-to plan for KC. But you can see that there's going to be this next fight. Jocko ready, willing and able to look for and engage the Cyclone, just now ticking up off cooldown. Divine Sunder completed for him. Important note really is that all mythics for the carries have been completed. All fully stocked up with their tier 2 boots as well outside of 113, but it doesn't really appear that that's going to matter all that much, as Carmine Corp select the Dragon. Solari select mid tier 1.
Yeah, valuing the map pressure that you get out of taking this tier 1 tower a little bit more, as the hook is going to be connecting onto Hantero, who's not back, not to take it out. That was way too quick from Solari, as they're going to take down the mid lane tower as well. Cabo Shard and 113, a little bit out of range, but they get the tower and a free pick with it too.
Really nice pick. Yeah, like you say, quick little pick up there. Hantero still saves ult and quickness, plus ult and flash, excuse me. So not necessarily the worst case in the world, losing one kill there, not the worst situation that you could find yourself in. You were going to lose that turret anyway. An extra 300 gold in the grand scheme of things, maybe not the worst thing, but still an unforced error.
And that's kind of been what we've been seeing from Carmine Corp this split. It's people staying a little bit too long. It's not quite resetting when you should, not recognizing the power level that the enemy team has, and that's why 3-time EU Masters winners currently sat 8 and 6, and whilst their playoff lives may not necessarily be on the line, this isn't where this team imagined themselves being at the start of the split.
No, it is a weird one finding them sort of at this stage in the LFL, because 6 losses is not really, you know, a bad thing come the end of the split. You will frequently see playoff teams, you know, 12-6 or whatever, but that presumes perfect play from here on in and, like, perfect record, essentially, to close out the split. A 5-0 end to your season, certainly something very good. But I think that what we've learned from Carmine Corp is that it doesn't really matter, and even from week number 1, I remember Middlecott, both myself and Don Jake saying, it feels like Carmine Corp are just stacking some wins on the board, playing their style that they're used to, and then at playoffs, they'll do something different. It was the very same motto that they kind of used in EU Masters, where they got to, or they sort of got through the entirety of the event and were largely unchecked. They had a really close series up against Vitality B. They had to get into the finals, but then LDLC won game number 1, and all of a sudden, just their brains flipped. They just turned into, oh, we need to play this style. We need to sort of improvise, overadapt, and overcome this opponent to become better and to take this win. It was when that sort of, I don't want to call it a mental block, but when that mental switch hit, that they just changed up, and it was like it was in them the whole time.
Yeah. As Charles Darwin once said, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, but the one most adaptable to change. And Carmine Corp sometimes are a team that doesn't want to change too much. Sometimes they completely flip the script on you and just win the game. They flipped the script on what a lot of outside observers of the LFL may have expected in this game, but not necessarily in a great way, because they're down 3,000 gold, they're down a Drake. Yeah, it's not sole point, but SLY are still the team who are making a lot of the proactive plays, and even when Carmine Corp were able to take up that Drake, I feel like that was more SLY going, yo, you can have this, we prefer to take that mid lane tower.
Yeah, it was for sure a seeding of the Dragon for greater strategical purposes. You can see what that mid-tier 1 is giving them. There's a control ward placed in that brush outside the Raptor pit, which is something that you don't see if your tier 1 turret exists as Carmine Corp. So really nice to see that they are making the most of this vision line enhancement that they can take. It is, however, worth mentioning, though, that as with it feels like every single game, Seiken is somehow farming ahead of the curve, with 214 CS just dinging over to 20 minutes, once again at this sort of 10.5 CS per minute marker that it feels like we see from him and maybe one other player in the LFL at any given week. So really scary Azir promised at some point in this game. Not quite there yet. Shadow Flame still in the works, but as we've mentioned, certainly something to keep your eye on.
Seiken good.
Smile. Just the colon close parentheses. That's it.
Oh, that, yeah. Little smart.
Yeah, how into, you know, there's a team in North America, the amateur scene over there, where I'm also active, called Team Pending, and their logo is simply that, a colon plus a closed parenthesis, and it's just the smiley face team. They've been renamed, essentially.
That's brilliant. I love that. Wasn't there?
And it's also terrifying.
Wasn't there a team like that had like a cat girl toilet roll?
Yes. Yes, there was. Zeus Gaming.
That's not a sentence I thought I'd say.
You know, Middlecott's description was pretty darn accurate, but for anyone who's curious, Zeus Gaming, ZOOS Gaming, for a really fun amateur esports logo, if you're interested.
The funniest thing is they're actually a half-decent team as well.
They were really good. Yeah,
they were really good.
They were like top 2 in amateur for a certain point.
How demoralizing would that feel to lose to...
Similar to losing to a smiley face is what I've been told.
Do you know what? That doesn't surprise me. Let's not talk NA. Let's talk France. There's going to have some action fairly soon, I imagine. That Ocean Drake is on the Rift, and Seiken currently soloing that one up. SLY, though, don't feel like they've got enough pressure to start up this Baron, as an Steelback going to be securing a little bit of this mid lane priority, but if Seiken can get out of this one for free, it's a free Dragon for Carmine Corp.
Yeah, and I don't know if that blue ward, that blue ward just went down, so they didn't really know that was getting soloed out, and they kind of got bitten a bit. Good Featherstorm by Reckless.
That was so clean.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see just like, oh, I don't need to flash this wall, or don't need to hit this one skill shot right. That was one that you definitely did, and pulls that trigger as such. But that does open up the window now. No Featherstorm for Azaya. a lot less defensive capabilities. They're going to start up this Baron. Remember, Kalista in tandem with a Smite, you can secure objectives from very high HP thresholds.
Oh, Hantera going over the pit, just getting a little check-in on the Baron HP. We've seen a steal today, but we will not see one in this game. Cleanly secured by SLY, but now Carmine Corp are looking for the fight. Cabashard in an undying range. He's way too angry to die until he finally gets killed. Just the one for SLY, but the big purple buff makes it all worth it.
Very good indeed. We talked about the secure potential of a Kalista and a Wukong. You can tell that in the comms they're already, okay, 1700 HP.
Well, I hope the comms aren't like that, because I believe we lost you for just a moment there, Rudu. Well, yep. Yes. Yeah, just impossible. Obviously, the Kalista Rend secure is exceptional when you combo that with your jungler's Smite so cleanly. A little bit of an interesting itemization choice here that we are seeing from Azza. This Kalista got incredibly far ahead of the curve in the early game, but is now opted towards the Randuins. A bit more of a defensive item choice when you've got the likes of the Tryndamere and this Viego diving on top of you. Yeah. Yeah, is able to dodge away from the Spectrum and the Heartbreaker strike. Not quite finding the engage. It's actually going to be Kyo caught out here. Cabashard is going to be diving forward as down goes the GP. That is a kill for Carmine Corp, and the AD carry from SLY not quite in range here as Hantera is going to be finding the engage off onto Scarlet in the mid side. Cabashard still not dead. There goes the Dreadtide as Carmine Corp. They've taken too long to kill anyone in this fight, and now here comes the Kalista. Joko's on a killing spree. Seiken is dead as well. It looked good for Carmine Corp at the start, but they can't make it stick.
Absolutely incredible by Carmine Corp. Thank you to everyone for bearing with me there. I am back, but Carmine Corp, like you say, they tried to go in. They do get Kyo, they get the target, but ultimately at a much greater cost. And now with that Baron buff, Solari's goal is not going to be gated to just the turrets outside the base. That top lane tier 3 turret going to go begging. 113 Cabo and Reckless. The 3 people all with armor, as is Rounder is Zoe getting overtime in this situation. And he just steps forward with impunity. Take the inhibitor turret, take the inhibitor. Now you've got a pressure point for the next 5 minutes.
And that's why it's so important to actually take out Seiken, because he was a lot of the long-range wave clear that Carmine Corp have. I think that if the Azir is still alive, SLY can't necessarily make that same play and get that inhib. They are being chased off a little bit by Hantera, but it would be pretty foolhardy of Carmine Corp to go for this, right?
Yeah, I think that what they're doing is stopping, though. They're stalling time, stopping recalls. Cabo's in the mid lane right now. That's a battle for 113.
Oh, 113. That's not great. That's not great. Rended down Rampage for Azza.
But look at the mid lane. It's all still worthwhile. They're stopping recalls. Yes, you're giving up a kill, which isn't particularly optimal, but 2 turrets in the mid lane. Cabo's going to easily be able to take this one. I don't think they care. I'd be more than happy with this if I'm 113. Yes, I could have probably lived, but we get 2 turrets in the mid lane. We've opened up ourselves an area of the map. We've got a lot of gold back into our team now.
Yeah.
Certainly worthwhile, and with all the control that they're going to be able to sort of secure in the jungle, it does make fighting for Vision and Solari's entrances to their own jungle now a lot more limited and a lot more fearful for them.
Yeah, which is going to play into the hands of Carmine Corp quite nicely. I find it intriguing that you're talking about building defensive items when ahead, and then when behind, Carmine Corp are like, yo, we've just got to go for this. We've just got to send it as much as possible, try and get as much gold as we can onto Cabashard so we can start getting to these damage power spikes and being a real threat in the side lane, which, honestly, he's been, but not as much as he needs to.
Yeah, weirdly enough, the most turrets that he's taken have been in the mid lane, which typically where you see the most grouping, but he still managed to do that solo. So it's, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Cabo is split pushing. Is he doing it in the generic sense? Not even slightly, but we may well see him transition into that side lane for a little while. Kyo with that Death Stance does have a little bit more sustainability in the 1v1, and of course, The leading thing about Gangplank is you can always clear waves. Unless Tryndamere, unless Cabo's going to just walk up and zone him off, clearing the wave entirely, there's never really a threat to take this turret down. The same can be said for Scarlet as well. This Trynd has got to either go hell for leather, just diving under the turret, or he's kind of just going to have to suck it up and say, well, I could maybe dive them, but it's going to be very difficult with all the wave clear they've got.
And if it was any other top laner in this league, except maybe Jagenda, I wouldn't be sure that you could pull it off. But I think Cabo has shown consistently he's such an insane carry threat in the LFL that, hey, when the chips are down, this is the perfect time for you to show off your veteran experience as well as just the raw skill that you have as a player.
Posturing around this Baron right now, 30 seconds on the spawn. Control of the top side river in favour of Solari, but there are some really nice wards behind them. Look at Seiken, the one with TP to potentially look for a flank angle, similar to what Peng was after in the last game, however unsuccessfully. But Solari haven't swept them out. They don't know that they're there, or even if they're just blue wards potentially too. It's good vision given over to Carmine Corp.
As they are now rotating through that jungle, but that one green ward is going to spot them out and means that Steelback doesn't quite connect on that dredge line. It's still Solari who do have the lion's share of the pressure, a phrase that we've been using a fair bit. As Hatera is going to be going in. The hook and response onto Reckless as the Riccardi's immediately forced to go back as in dives Joko. The disengaging shoot, but look at Azza 1v3ing on the backline on Kalista and finding damage, finding kills. But it's Camoshard being that carry on the other side of the fight. Gets two, does fall down in the end. 3 for 2 in favor of Solari, but crucially, mid jungle AD carry all alive.
They can potentially go for this Baron here if they want it. It's up and ready, available. Scarlet going to run anchor on the play. They're not going to expect it, and instead he just clears out this mid wave. He's not going to allow them the mid lane inhibitor turret. Carmine Corp, they're seeding the Baron. They are seeding this objective. Knows there's no way of them taking the fight with no Featherstorm, no Emperor's Divide, and the Kalista Wukong secure capability. Instead, they take some bot side jungle camps. They may well even stick around for this tier 2 turret in the bot lane, but they're going to go back to base, in fact. Get themselves all set up with a little bit more gold in their back pockets, and Solari secure the second Baron of the game. Now 7,000 gold up against your reigning EU Masters champions.
Oh my word. Rude dude, I'm starting to get that feeling. I'm starting to get that feeling that Carmine Corp are scrambling a little bit. That engage from Hantera, it looked good, but not everyone was there. It wasn't quite what Carmine Corp needed in that exact moment, and it's now Solari with the Baron buff who are going to have a load of this extra pushing pressure. I love what Hantera is doing though. He's trying to put down some of these deep wards so that if Seiken finds a miracle flank TP, Carmine Corp can win the fight around it, although 113 needs to watch out in the mid lane as he is going to eat that dredge line and that depth charge as well. No ultimate available for the Viego for the next little bit, as might actually be getting collapsed on here on the bot side. Camoshard able to dash away as Hantera finding the engage as well, but the two members of Carmine Corp are caught out on the side lane with nowhere to go. Ghost isn't even available for Camoshard. The Cannon Barrage going to slow them a little bit. Joko smacks him on the head as the Undying Rage is going to buy a little bit of time, but the Monkey follows the Tryndamere over the wall. And that top lane threat, that big carry that you needed in this game, goes down as Hantera might be making another miracle escape, but look at this, the siege from Solari coming through in the bot lane. Yeah, they've got the Baron as well, so getting rid of these creeps is not easy for Seiken. They're just, again, buying time here as Scarlet flashes. Yeah, looking for a play onto Reckless, but actually gets it onto Hantera on the backside. Desire's going to be falling down as well. The Lovers duo in a shared coffin as Solari push through this bot lane. Seiken and 113, the only members left alive for Carmine Corp. The wave clear can come through from this Azir, but it may not be enough. That's a good flash from Seiken to just buy some time and steal back. Not quite able to find the engage. They may well just look for the game here. They've got two cannon minions buffed up with that Baron to try and take some turrets. A new fresh wave here. Caboshard back alive. doesn't have the ultimate, crucially. So much power of the Tryndamere is in that ability, and he's not going to have access to it. 113 already dead as there it comes through. The ultimate, the Undying range, just in time to bite a little bit, but it's not enough. Slain by Azza, who is unkillable on the Callista, as Taken and Hantera are going to man the final defense. The Azir thrown back into the team. The engage not enough from Hantera. Reckless has to do it, has to be the carry for Carmine Corp in this final fight. So much damage being dropped as Reckless, he's still alive, but the Nexus is the focus, and SLY take out Carmine Corp.
And against the odds, it's SLY that find the win. 4-10. They do not care for their record. They simply put their foot to the floor and take the win up against the reigning EU Masters champions. They're the ones that are pushing Carmine Corp out of playoffs here. Now just